Hello and welcome to the Proper Marketing Talk podcast. This is the marketing podcast where we interview marketing directors and business owners to unveil their secrets to building successful brands. Today I'm joined by Louise Hendy, Head of Marketing for Kingsley Asset Finance Ltd. Established for over 30 years, Kingsley Asset Finance is well known in the industry. Listen in on my conversation with Louise on how she's helped build the brand over the last 8 years. Thanks for coming on, Louise. So if you just want to start by telling me who you are, where you work, and what your role is all about.
Yeah, so I'm Louise, I work at Kingsley Asset Finance. So Kingsley are an independent funder, basically. So we provide finance for people for business critical assets. So predominantly it's like vehicles, plant machinery, equipment, but we can also do like any kind of business asset. So that's sort of the main core of the business, and that includes refinance as well. Then we also have a loan product which is for professional practices. So my role is, so I'm head of marketing, and I came in about 8 years ago. It wasn't what I actually applied for, the job. I sort of created my own role to get to there, but there was no marketing done before I came, basically, and obviously you need to do that. So I came in, I had like a bit of experience from previous jobs, and I was just like, can we do this? Can we do that? So yeah, I've come along and I'm doing like social media, like email marketing, digital marketing, any expos, networking, events. That's kind of everything that I cover.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, all right, good. So you mentioned that you had a little bit of experience.
Yeah.
So you had I see from LinkedIn that you were a social media manager for a while,
Yeah.
but then you were in sales roles and stuff before that. So so you've been at Kingsley Asset Finance for the last 8 years. How long were you doing social media before that?
Like not long really. So I was in a sales role, like you said, and through that I just sort of started. It was a very, very small team. There was like 3 of us. So it was sort of everyone did a bit of everything. So I started just like doing social media while I was there and sort of covered in my role there. So it's all very self-taught. Like I don't actually have any marketing qualifications. I think that's when I was saying to you earlier before we started, I get in like imposter syndrome over it because I've not actually done any like degree or anything like that. It's just, I'm just interested in learning about it. I've just put the effort in to teach myself stuff, and I think, yeah, it just works out. And I think that just goes to show you don't have to necessarily take that route. I'm quite vocal about like you don't have to do these things. Like there are other ways to get to sort of what you want to do without that university route kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I agree with you because obviously, even though I own a marketing agency now, it started off as video, and I went to uni to do a video production.
Okay.
So I did a degree in film production.
Oh, okay.
Nothing marketing related. So then how I stepped into it was I was asked to do the social media promotion of a feature film, and I really enjoyed that side of things.
Okay,
so
that's
then you can say that I've not got any formal qualifications in marketing either, but we successfully market businesses. So
well, quite. I say if the results are there, then it's working, isn't it? So yeah.
So you mentioned obviously you've been at Kingsley Asset Finance for the last 8 years. They'd not done any marketing before then, but they are 30 or 35 years old?
Yeah, 30 years
30
this year.
years old.
Yeah, so it started, I'll tell you like how the company started. So Jonathan Smith started the company, and it was very much a case of someone asked Jonathan to lend him, I think it was like $3,000 or something, and it was for like tax disc for like the heavy goods vehicles. Like they used to be a lot more expensive apparently than they are now. We don't remember that. But so he did that, and then a few other people like in the little village that we are in Chorley like started asking if, oh, can you do that for me? And then it was a case of, oh, could you fund my vehicle instead then? And it sort of just like rolled from there basically. So he sort of had like his core customers, and then most of our business comes via a broker. It's like 90% is broker introduced, and we've been going through 30 years now. So we have a huge panel of supporting brokers, and obviously we've been going that long, we're clearly doing something right. So I just don't think they ever really thought that they need to do that. And they're a team of people who have been there a really long time as well. So when I specifically remember in my interview, so obviously had in my CV that I'd done some previous social media work, and Jonathan's like called out on that. He's like, "Oh, you've done this, what have you done, etc." And he said, "Oh, we've been trying to do a bit." And I said, "Oh yeah, I did have a look." And he was like, "Is it any good?" I was like, it's all right. But and basically what they did was one tweet a week at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. That was it. That was the marketing. And I was like, you're wasting your time, to be quite honest. And I sort of like was like, you need to do this and maybe do this. So yeah, I obviously got the job, and then it was a receptionist job I actually applied for. So I came in to just do reception and admin. And then over time, I sort of was like, can I make a LinkedIn page? Can I do this? And then I started doing like email on MailChimp and things like that. And I've just sort of grown it. And now I'm just head of marketing, and I just do all the marketing now.
Right, okay, because that's interesting, because that was going to be my other question. Okay. Why did they originally bring you on? So if I'd done 20 years without any marketing, and then brought you on, what was the sort of challenges that they were having at that time to bring you on as marketing? But I suppose if you started as a receptionist and then you just came in and took over that bit.
I just sort of like shoehorned myself in. So yeah, there was starting to be some growth, and the lady who was doing reception and admin, she was needed more on the sales support side. So they wanted someone in to take her role. And yeah, it just grew from there. I remember they had a website, but there was hardly any pages on it. There wasn't really much on it. The pictures on there was just so irrelevant to the actual company. So I remember spending ages being like, please, can we do a new website? Please, can we do a new website? I finally got them to do a new website. So like, I do all that as well now. I do like the content for the website and all that kind of stuff. And I just really enjoy it. And it's a nice company to work for as well. And Jonathan, who is the director, he's very open as well to anything. If I can go to him and be like, I think we should do this, and he's like, yeah, okay, then let's give that a go. And I think he's seen as well the benefits from us doing it. People do often like comment on like the social media and things like that to him, and we have had like business off the back of it. So we do see that it works. So I'm sure he's glad that we did it. I hope he is.
Yeah. Well, he must be to still be employed 8 years down the line. I suppose if you weren't getting results.
Yeah, could you imagine?
Yeah, okay. And you mentioned then that most of your business comes through brokers. Yeah. So just sort of for anyone unfamiliar, what's that mean?
Yeah. So we're the funder, so it's our money that we're giving to a customer. The customer will go to a broker who will they'll say, I need to finance a truck. I need to buy a truck for my business. How can I get that truck? And the broker will do a proposal and go out to all the lenders that they know and try and get the best deal for that customer. And then it'll be us that funds it for the customer. Alternative finance is basically what it is. Right. So banks are your traditional finance. The bank obviously doesn't really lend money anymore to people. The last few years, everything's gone a bit wild. Yeah. The bank very much, you have to have pristine credit to get money from the bank. With asset finance and other like alternative finance, it's depending on so we're what's called a tier 2 lender. So your tier 1 lenders are your banks. It's like your Aldermores, your Investec. And your tier 2, we're a bit more like, we'll take a bit more of a risk on the credit. So say you had 5 years ago, you had a bit of a bad time, you had a few defaults on your credit check, the bank would just immediately be like, no, we're not lending you money. Whereas we are able to look at that a bit more commercially and be like, right, okay, well, this was the reason that happened. We can see what they've done to sort of improve that. We can see the business is going in the right direction. So yes, we will lend you the money. But whereas the bank just give you the money, we're lending it on an asset. So we'll do like a hire purchase or a finance lease on an asset. So we're owning that vehicle or machinery, equipment, and the customer pays us a rental on it each month.
Yeah.
So that's how that works.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. So how do you, like any business, your target audience then really are brokers.
Yeah.
How do you? There'll be brokers that deal with really small deals. There'll be brokers that deal with really big deals. How have you shaped or sort of identified and niched your target audience? Have you? And if so, how did you do it?
Yeah, for us, we have got quite a large broker panel. We maybe have like 30 to 40 active brokers, so they're brokers who are like actively sending us deals in regularly. We're paying out deals regularly for those brokers. And to be honest, we don't really have a huge criteria about it. We have our lending limits, so we will lend up to £400,000 in any one deal. It doesn't particularly matter what the asset is, or like the customer to an extent. We won't do like new starts, tenants, things like that. There are certain rules, but beyond that, it doesn't really matter like what kind of background it is.
How do you identify the channels, the marketing channels, to be able to reach those people?
Yeah. So I said when I first started, they was just using Twitter, and I was like, Twitter is not for this kind of business. But they have the channel. I've still got the channel. They don't really do very much with it, and everyone's like, oh, you get a Facebook page. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll get a Facebook page. But again, it's not really the right channel for a B2B, especially the kind of thing that we're doing. It does work occasionally. I do still update it. It keeps on there. But for us, it's LinkedIn is just the biggest one. Especially from on the personal pages, it's connecting person to person. I think people really like that about marketing, and just posting in general. I look back recently at some of the old marketing I did, like on LinkedIn or on MailChimp and stuff, and I was like cringing so bad. I was like, oh God, it's awful. But it is hard to get sort of the right line on what you want to do. Like I'd be posting, because obviously you want to use social media to be promoting what you do, and you want people to go to your website and you want people to buy from you ultimately. But it's just like the quantity of doing it, how often you should do it. And I think we've got quite a good spread now with how we do it, where the way we talk about our products is a bit different, and we put a lot of like personal posting. So there's a lot of like us when we're out and about doing stuff going on in the office, and people like to see that. And I think people like seeing the actual people behind it, because we do sort of promote ourselves as well as being like commercially minded, and it's all manually underwritten. It's not like your proposal's going through a computer and it's, does the computer say yes or does it say no? It's not one of them kind of things. So it doesn't make sense to then not have us out there on the social media, to me. So I'm like walking around the office like trying to get people to have the picture taken all the time. They're trying to work and I'm like, can I take your picture? Like, no.
They're absolutely hating it. As soon as you walk into that room,
literally,
they know, and they want to switch off and walk out.
As soon as there's an event on, they're like, oh, here she is again. Camera's out.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned sort of channels for other sort of business owners and marketers. You mentioned that you thought we've not really done much of Facebook whilst you stay on there. Pretty much like us, we don't do a lot on Facebook. What every week, 2 weeks, we'll chuck a post out just to keep it going.
Yeah.
How have you identified that? Why have you not on Facebook? How do you sort of go about starting to identify which channels to use?
It's hard, isn't it? I think, like you say, our brokers are they're in working hours, they're doing stuff then. They're not on, they might not be on Facebook necessarily during the day, like I mean. But if you're on, I always think if you're on Facebook, you're not on it to like just go and do work, like you're on Facebook in your leisure time. And I get it for B2C, completely get it for that, but it doesn't work. And when I look now at what I post, I tend to post on LinkedIn like the office dog or something that is just in the office, and everyone loves the office dog, so you get a lot of likes on that. But it's like the same people who already knows. It's usually like our family like liking on Facebook and stuff like that. But like I say, I keep it alive, because then alternative, on the other hand rather, if I want to buy something from somewhere and I'll look at all their social media generally, I'll see what they've got and I'll go on every page, and you do like to make sure it's up to date and that they have been using it frequently and recently to know that they're actually still existing. So I think I don't want to leave it and then it'd be like the last post was in 2022 and they're like, oh, well, they're not doing anything anymore. I only did it like recently, actually. I was looking for a restaurant that I wanted to go to, and they hadn't updated their Facebook page in like 3 years, but the website is like, well, we do exist. And it's just, it makes you think that they're not there.
Yeah, but not an actual business,
because,
or they've closed down or something.
You just don't know if they're not actively updating things like semi-regularly. So
yeah, I get what you mean.
Try and keep it alive a bit.
Actually, you've just reiterated the same point as Olivia, who was on a couple of episodes back. So she mentioned about going to a restaurant and she looks at everything, you know, and you are right with social media, Facebook. People aren't there to be sold to, you know, they're there to see pictures of the friends and the mates' kids. No
one's looking for truck finance at 7 p.m. at night on
or
Facebook.
marketing.
Well, quite,
basically. You know, so yeah, it is. What other channels do you use then to go and market?
So we have MailChimp, we do that. So we've got, it's predominantly with our brokers. We've got, like I said, this huge collection of them. So we do send out frequent email marketing to them, and that actually works really well. It was only like a few weeks ago, so I'll often send out what we could do deals of the month. So we'll like pick a few deals that we've done in the previous month, like for a huge variety, like different industries, different advances, all that kind of things, send them out. And it's just to sort of refreshes the mind that, oh, Kingsley can do that as well. I've got a customer actually who wants to do that. And it works. Like we get phone calls off the back of it and they'll be like, oh, I just saw your mail shot and I actually have a customer who needs to do something similar. And it just keeps you sort of at the forefront because it's such a saturated market as well. There are so many lenders, and it's all like trying to compete with each other. So you've just got to keep you at the sort of forefront of their minds to come to you. Like, why should they come to you? So that's what we're doing with the MailChimp. That's
it. And I think sometimes when you're doing activities like that as just sort of brand building, brand awareness, sometimes you can get a bit, there's like you haven't got that massive influx of inquiries or something like that. But over time it does build, and like you say, it's just keeping repetition, keeping forefront of people's minds, reiterating the same points of what you do, so that when they come to think about, that guy needs a loan for a truck, I know where I'll go.
So I do a lot of networking. Well, I've been doing it quite regularly for this year now. I have done like bits in the past, and we do a lot of like the business expos, and it's what you were just saying then, like you're not going to come away from an expo necessarily with like 5 new leads. The next week you're going to pay out like 300 grand worth of assets. It's just not going to happen every single time. It's just, you can't even think that's going to happen, especially when you've only done 1 or 2 of them. So the way that we see it when we do them is very much a brand awareness thing. It's, we turn up, if we're doing them regularly, people will start recognizing us there, they know our name. I'm going to like networking groups, and with the hope that at some point someone is going to need what we're selling, and enough people have heard my name and heard what I do that they'll be like, oh, actually I do know someone who does that. And I've done it from the other way. Like I've been in groups where people have been saying, oh, I need such a person, and I'll be like, well, I know someone from this group, I can put you in touch with them. So it's sort of just, you keep on doing it and it will pay off, but it's not an instant thing. And I think people do get a bit like downhearted about that. They were expecting to come away with all this new business off the back of it, and it doesn't quite work that way.
Yeah, that's it. But I think we've gone through this period of the last few years where all anyone's been talking about is performance marketing, ads, which are sort of like quick wins, and you can see the results instantly on your ads report. But And I think everyone's expecting that now. And obviously we are a society where we're rushing around, we're time poor, we're trying to get things done. We want things instantly, but it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
No. I was thinking about something similar earlier in that everyone expects everything they post to go viral.
Yeah.
And they get very upset if it's not gone viral.
Yeah.
And people are like, why has it not got 1,000 views? Why has it not got this many comments? And it's like, one, we don't know why a lot of the time. But not every post can do that, and it shouldn't also necessarily be striving for everything to go viral. I don't necessarily think like it doesn't need to go viral to have an impact. As long as it needs to be hitting the people that you want it to hit is more important than getting 1,000 comments, 3,000 likes on it. It only needs one person who it's actually relevant to see it. To turn it into something.
Well, that's it. You know, people talk about relevance. You could have a following of 10,000 people if you want. You can go on and do a like campaign. You can buy likes off Google if you have that following, but actually only about 10 of them are your target audience, and it's useless.
I similar to how I've explained, because obviously I'm the only one who does the marketing, and they obviously don't really understand it. They've never done it before. And I've tried to explain like engagement rate and things like that in the past. And it's so hard to like get a good high engagement rate. And I explain it like, if you look at say like Boots or John Lewis, you know, like big brands, if you actually look at their social media and how many comments and likes they get compared to the followers, it's actually not very many. And you have to then apply that across, like if they're only getting 1%, 0.5% engagement rate, like it's not always just about how many followers you've got and how many likes and things like that you're getting on something.
You mentioned that your industry is a competitive industry.
Yeah.
What have you done to make yourself different, distinctive, differentiate yourself from a competition?
Yeah, we rebranded a few years ago. We've always had sort of green in our logo. That was like our brand colour. It was like a dark green. So a few years ago, it's probably like 6 years ago now, we did rebrand it. We changed the logo a bit, and we kept green, but we made it a lot brighter of a green. So all our marketing now has followed suit. So visually, everything's very bright, it's very colourful, it's very clean. And I know from doing like finance expos, it definitely stands out. Like blue is a very popular colour in finance. So everyone's brand is blue. But you are starting to see some of them like come out. There's like the odd one that's got like very bright yellow or even a bright pink, something like that. They are like trying to bring a bit more colour into it. So visually, we're doing that. Then I don't know. I think, like I say, I am trying to do it more personable on what I'm posting. People like to see us. They like to see what we're doing. They don't necessarily want to be like, hey, do you need some truck finance? Come to Kingsley, you know? Like, obviously you have to like still sell your products, but there's better ways of doing it. So I do find like the deals of the month that I mentioned is a really good way of doing it, because then it just, even like I say, most of it is broker induced, but we do have direct customers as well who will come to us. So it's, if they see it, it's then, oh, they've funded that huge truck that I also could do with. So that knows that we do it, so he can come to us and do it himself. And then also just like the type of content, I've really been trying to do more with video, because that is what people like. People like to look at videos rather than a static image. So I am trying to do a bit more with that. It is hard. Like it's just me that does the marketing. Like one of the girls in the sales, like she does help me. We'll have a sit down every month and we'll sort of plan out what we're going to post about for the next month. We kind of work like that, like sort of on a monthly basis, like with what we're posting. And then we kind of look at what's going on in our lives, in the office. Have we got any events? Is there anything in the industry going on? And just sort of work on that. But it's quite casual, really. Like I always think it doesn't feel like what I hear other marketing jobs like. I don't know if that's just because of the way that I run it, or the way that I've not got like I say, I've not got the qualification behind me or anything like that. Yeah. But they're just very laid back about what I'm doing. They trust what I'm doing and believe what I say, what I can do. and I believe it. Whereas like, obviously marketing is a full-time job, and people have like a huge marketing team, so people have like multiple people, where it is just me. So I'm just like doing my best, and that, again, that's where that imposter thing comes into it sometimes.
You mentioned about having a meeting with your sales person.
Yeah.
What's she called?
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
Yeah.
So you have a meeting with Charlotte every month. How do you think sales and marketing interlock?
Yeah. So Charlotte's role, she's our broker relationship manager. So she goes out and about. She'll go and meet up with brokers. She'll have meetings with new brokers, get new people on the panel. And so she knows what's going on. She knows what deals are in the pipeline and all this kind of thing. So she comes to me when we have our meeting, and she'll be like, well, we've met this person, we've met that person, we're going to be doing this deal there. So that would be good to then include in our deals of the month. And it is a good synergy. Like previously, before Charlotte started, Jane, who's now retired, I worked really closely with, and so Charlotte's taken over that role. And it's the same thing, like Jane would go out and about, and then she'd come back to me and then spill everything out that she's just done. And then I'm like, right, what can I turn that into now? And it's just a way to, we are a small team as well. There's like 10 of us, I think. And we all have individual roles, really.
Yeah.
So everyone's doing their own thing. So quite often you don't really know what someone else is doing, because you're just doing your job. So a lot of the time I don't actually know what deals are in the pipeline, what documents are here, what assets we're funding or anything like that. So it's Charlotte who then comes to me and she's like, right, we're doing this, this and this. And we then put our heads together and come up with how we can best market that.
So you use all these other marketing channels, you use social, go to expos and a number of things. How do you measure the performance of each channel?
Yeah, I mean, I do. So with Charlotte, I'll do a sales meeting every month. So she'll send me an email, which I'll complete for her, and it's like a table of results. So I do keep a spreadsheet, and I'll go through like LinkedIn and everything, like look through the analytics. But again, we don't really take it all that seriously. It's not like there's a target or anything like that. Obviously, we've recently just done the website up again, and we're putting a bit more into SEO and all that kind of stuff. I've been learning about that, total minefield. So I'm like, obviously want the website to now be performing. So I'm like really trying hard to make sure the website, the numbers are going up each month, because we've obviously put a lot of money into that website, and I want them to see that it was worth it. But yeah, it is just your general reporting. We're not going into it like too deep, and there's not like any, why have you not got 6,000 page views on there in a month kind of thing. It's very chilled about it, yeah.
Yeah.
Which makes it a lot nicer to sort of do what you're doing as well, really. You've not got that pressure on top of it.
Yeah. What do you think all businesses could do, no matter industry, size? There's a lot of magic pills online. Do this, do ads, SEO. There's a lot of magic pills, as I say. What do you think all businesses could do to market themselves successfully?
Like knowing who you want to speak to, probably like knowing your customer. And obviously sometimes there's more than one customer. So I guess identifying who you want to speak to, and just a sort of your online voice as well. Like, do you want it to be super professional, or can it be a bit more casual, which we've sort of gone more into, which you wouldn't necessarily think with being a finance company. You think, oh, it's like super professional, you know. But we don't work like that at all. It is a lot more of a chilled atmosphere. I wear my slippers at work, I mean. So we're not in suits and ties and all this. So that has to reflect in how we present ourselves on social as well. Like, there's no point in us using all like this high-end terminology if that's not how we are in person. We want to be relatable. And like I say, I think people like seeing people online as well. They don't want it to just be like robots and things like that, or stock imagery. Like, put yourself in there, because that's what people are buying. People are buying you. They're not necessarily buying all that stuff behind it first. You're the first person they're seeing. I think something else was like, obviously there's AI, it's like huge at the minute as well, and no one really knows what we're doing with it or anything yet, but you get a lot of the whole ChatGPT social posts, and it's so obvious.
Yeah.
Like, it's got a place, I understand it, but we're not quite there with it yet, so probably don't rely on that to write your social posts.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of work that still needs to go into those
Yeah.
AI tools just yet, really.
Yeah, I do find it funny, especially around national days. You can definitely see things coming from ChatGPT or Gemini.
Like with the national days and stuff like that, I just think, why, for example, why would I post about National Cat Day when it's got nothing to do with our business? And I just don't get it. And there's something every single day, so you could post something every single day,
Yeah.
but it doesn't actually get you any engagement either. But then I always think to like be a bit more serious about those kind of days as well. I spoke to someone recently about this because we did a coffee morning for World Mental Health Day. So we support Lancashire Mind as a business. They're our chosen charity. So we did raise some money for those. And I was saying to someone there how when it's days like World Mental Health Day or things like International Women's Day, things like that, a lot of businesses do post about these things. And that's brilliant. Obviously, we want to raise awareness. We want people to support where they can. But you can tell when people are doing it just to get a few likes on social media. And with the International Women's Day, like, I'm a huge advocate for feminism. I think that we absolutely need to be doing more. With International Women's Day, you get a lot of companies who will just post a picture of all the women in the team and be like, Happy International Women's Day. We've got all these women that work for us. And I'm like, oh, that's not what the day's about. I'm like, you're just trying to get a few likes, and it really makes me feel so icky. And then it's fine to do that if you're then gonna do stuff throughout the year to sort of support equality or mental health or whatever you're posting about. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think you should just be spitballing in a few random posts that don't align with what you do. So we do support Lancashire Mind. So every like few months I will post something related to mental health, workplace well-being, all that kind of stuff, and it fits in with what our pillars kind of are. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Louise, for coming on. It's been great to have you on. I feel like you've delivered some real insightful things there. So thanks for coming on. We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much.
No worries.